The Subaru WRX has been an incredible amount of fun for the week that I've had it so far. It's got all-wheel drive, it's low profile, the handling is incredible inside of this car. And in this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about this WRX. Starting off with the paint. This one is in the Galaxy Purple Pearl. And while this wouldn't be my first paint choice inside of a WRX, there are some pretty unique elements of the paint. It's purple under some lights, black under others, and then it's also got kind of a tinge of deep blue at the same time. It's a pretty unique paint choice. And this one is the TS trim level, which is new for the 2025 model. It's the highest available trim with some unique features like Brembo brakes, electronically controlled dampers, and there's also STI tuned suspension, and you can absolutely feel that upgraded suspension system when you're taking hard corners. This car is an absolute blast. You're only going to find the WRX all-wheel drive, which is not a bad thing by any stretch. The all-wheel drive system in this car is excellent. The responsiveness, it hugs the road so incredibly well. Part suspension, part that symmetrical all-wheel drive system, and another part is the engine. The Boxer engine, the way that it sits. Beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, how do you complain there? You're going to find either 18 or 19-inch wheels available inside of the WRX. The 19s inside of the TS have a nice matte finish to them. I love the color here. I normally would go for black wheels, but the matte gray with this paint choice and even some of the darker paints works incredibly well. You're going to find LED headlamps and fog lamps in every trim level of the WRX. And the overall style of the car is beautiful. It hasn't really changed much over the years, and there's a reason for that. It works. And if it's not broken, why fix it? I don't think I've heard many Subaru owners complaining about the overall aesthetics of the car. If your plan is to take this off pavement from the factory, the WRX isn't the best for rally driving. Having said that, I mean, Ken Block, rest in peace, you looked at what he was able to accomplish in the Subaru lineup. The WRX can be upgraded with so many incredible aftermarket parts to make it the perfect rally car. So if that's your plan, you want to get into rally driving, the WRX is probably something that should be on your radar. Underneath the hood of the WRX, there's only a single engine choice that's available. It's a 2.4 liter turbocharged boxer style engine, and it's paired with either a 6-speed manual or an 8-speed automatic transmission. Pushes out an impressive 271 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. So, have to get myself back up to highway speed here. I'm gonna go into sport. You can go sport, sport plus, and we'll go in 3, 2, and this car can absolutely fly. The Boxer engine inside of the WRX is flat, where the pistons move in and out against each other. It helps to create a lower center of gravity, it enhances stability, balance, and then overall handling. And the handling is something that I can't get enough of inside of this car. It is excellent, especially when you get into the Sport Plus mode, where it stiffens up the steering wheel and the suspension system. The warranty inside of the Subaru world, industry standard, so your basic is going to be 3 years, powertrain is 5 years, with the option of increasing that at time of purchase if you really wanted to. And then the design underneath the hood here, there's not really much to it. You can see everything, which I think that a car that's meant for what this is meant for should be. You're not covering off any components, which I love, but if you're working on it yourself, you can easily check change your oil, and then there's also easy access in order to top up your wiper fluid. And then just do yourself a favor, regularly schedule maintenance and regular oil changes to get the best possible life you can out of this ride. You're going to find manual folding, side view mirrors inside of every trim level of the WRX. The highest trims have turn signals built in. These things are heated on top of that. And there is some intelligent access. You can tap there in order to lock or unlock the doors. And then hopping inside like that. Nice little carbon fiber-esque inserts all the way throughout. But before we get inside, now the TS is obviously going to be this bright blue. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. I love it. But before I get in there, along the side, these are going to be the same across the board. So side view mirror controls, window controls, kill off power to the rear windows with some storage there. There are 2 different speaker choices available across the WRX lineup. It's either a 6-speaker system standard, or there's the upgraded 11-speaker Harman Kardon audio system. These are the regular carpeted mats. They're okay. It's kind of neat that the TS is there. I personally go for the rubberized trays aftermarket. Man, you've got these beautiful power Recaro seats inside of the ride. I love it. I think the style there is great. The comfort is even better. And then space-wise, oh yeah, look at these. Look at that start up. I haven't even started it up. That's the hop-in animation. But okay, so the seat's as far down as it'll go. I've got, what, like 4.5, 5 inches of headspace there, and I'm 6 feet tall. So if you're 6'4", 6'5", you're probably comfortably able to sit inside of this ride. You might have to back the seat up quite a little bit though, but it's nice. And then looking at the seats, so you're going to find the Recaros in either the GT or the TS trim levels, and then it's either going to be a cloth seat or you've got this like suede leatherette mix. Yeah, like I said, the seats are incredibly comfortable. I love the vibrant blue. That's just a matter of personal preference. I like how they match it up with stitching all the way throughout there too, even on the steering wheel with that same carbon fiber-esque highlight. Love it. Looking at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Subaru WRX. In this video, you're going to learn everything that you need to know. First thing I'm going to point out is that the steering wheel inside of the ride is going to be manual telescoping. So down by your left knee, there's a release. Just going to drop down and then telescoping, so in, out, up and down to find that perfect position. Once you do, click it in order to lock it back into place. And there are a bunch of different buttons and stalks, but there are some buttons down by your left knee. And so you can use this one in order to open up the trunk. You can toggle your traction control system off there too. So toggling traction off, really the only time you want to do that is slippery, snowy conditions. If you're not getting traction in your car, you can toggle that one off. And then there's also a dimmer switch, which adjusts out the brightness of the cluster screen, along with the infotainment system. I just keep it on max brightness all the time, day or night. Just makes it way easier to see. Nice, and then so many different buttons and stalks. So starting off with the stalk along the left-hand side. So you've got your blinker there. There's a way to set it up through the infotainment where it's just a single click, but I think the 3 makes the most sense. You can obviously then push down, and then you've got your rocker along the top here, and that's going to get you into a few different options for your light modes. You can toggle them off, but I'd recommend keeping yourself in the auto mode all the time. What happens here is that if the vehicle recognizes high beams are needed, it turns them on automatically. But in the auto mode, so daytime, we can't lock them out. So what you're going to do, if you go into the upper headlamp mode, push away, locks your high beams on, pull towards you in order to turn them off. It's just that auto mode means that they'll come on automatically and turn off as necessary. And then if you've got fogs, you can toggle those on or off this way. And you've got a boatload of different buttons here too. So you can go this way in order to jump between presets if you've got them set up inside of the infotainment system. So we go to our radio here. You can go left versus right. And you can see there, moving between all of our different stations, but you can also do a push and hold, and that acts as a little seek button. So if you wanted to change out stations that way, you could, but you can also use your voice.
Please say a command.
Tune to 94.9 FM.
Okay. Tuning to 94.9 FM.
So you can change stations using your voice here too. So it's pretty simple being able to do that. You've got a volume rocker here, so you can go up and down. You can see what your volume levels are there. You can adjust your volume out to the side there, or push in order to be able to mute out your audio. You can change between sources. So you can see here, as we push that button, change in between AM, FM, SiriusXM, Bluetooth. If you had a USB stick with MP3s or other audio files, that would show up there too. You can answer or hang up on a phone call, but you can also mute audio this way if you'd like to by pushing the button there. You've got these lower buttons too. So the 2 along the top and the bottom are for that bottom part of the cluster screen. So as you push left versus right, you've got different options there. And then you've got your different trip counters too. If you wanted to reset your trip counters, boom, trip reset right there in order to be able to do it. So you're just going to push and hold in order to zero out that counter. And then the buttons along the right-hand side here. Actually, we'll go to the right stick first. All right, so right stick, you've got for your wipers. So just one up is just like a single wipe. You go one level down, that puts you into the intermittent mode. You can then use the rocker switch in the middle to say how fast or slow rain's hitting the windshield, or drop into some of the crazy modes and then just pull in towards you to get that front wiper fluid going. And then you've got your different cruise control settings and then some different buttons down along the bottom here. So this one is going to launch you into your individual drive mode, but you can also push here in order to get to your different drive modes. And then these are controls for your cruise control. There are two different types of cruise control inside of the WRX. And it doesn't matter if you're in the 6-speed manual transmission or the 8-speed automatic. You have both options too. So it's either going to be adaptive or traditional old school. Your old school is exactly that. You set it at 80. If the car in front of you slows down, yours will not brake. So you just have to be paying attention. With the adaptive cruise, let's say if you set it at 80, the car in front of you slows down, yours will automatically brake. They change lanes, you change lanes, it'll pick you back up to your previously set speed. By using the system, you toggle it on by pushing the button here. You can see there, we know that it's now toggled on. You then push down in order to be able to set your speed. Increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time by moving up or down. You can push and hold up or push and hold down in order to increase, decrease at larger increments. You can hit the brake to cancel your speed. With cruise going, you'd hit there to temporarily pause your speed too, and then just push up again in order to resume your previously set speed. Then, distance indicators are here, and this is when you are in the adaptive cruise control system. So there are 4 unique levels. So that's how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you. There are different distances depending on the speed that you're traveling, but think of that like a 1, 2, 3 for how close or far you are away from that leading vehicle. I'm personally okay level 1 most of the time. You might want to be on 2, 3, or 4 depending on your own personal comfort level. And then I mentioned you've got that second type of cruise, which is going to be your old school cruise control. So in order to get to that setting, if you take the up-down options here, so to increase or decrease your gap from the leading vehicle, you're going to push and hold both of those, and that puts you into your old school cruise control. So that one, you just set your speed, and that's going to hold it at whatever speed that you set. Increase as or decrease as necessary, push and hold up or down, faster or slower increments. But that's the one where if you have a vehicle in front of you that's slowing down, yours will not brake. Toggle it off, back on again, puts you back into the cruise control system, the adaptive cruise control system as a default. And then you've also got your little steering wheel icon here. You can see there that we've got that steering wheel icon turned on. So what's going to happen is if the vehicle recognizes the lane markings, that is going to go green. The car is not self-driving, but as long as it recognizes the lane markings, it's going to keep you perfectly balanced in your lane. So you lose focus because you're rubbernecking like an idiot, whatever the case may be. As long as those lane markings are recognized, it'll keep you perfectly balanced. It is a phenomenal system. If you want a live demonstration though of actually using the cruise control system, you'll find that down in the description of this video. And I mentioned the cruise control system's there, whether you're in the 6-speed manual or the 8-speed automatic transmission, so both adaptive and traditional cruise. If you're in the 6-speed manual though, cruise control won't work if you're in first gear. But if you're outside of first gear, you're good to go. And then inside of the cluster screen, you've got your tachometer along the left-hand side with your customizable gauge using the buttons along the outside of the bottom part of the steering wheel there. Your current engine temperatures there. As of right now, I also do have the driving monitoring system turned off, but if you wanted it toggled on, inside of the infotainment system, all you're going to do is go to your car, and then you've got the driving monitoring system. So you can toggle that system on. When you do, it'll go green, which means that the camera's watching your eyes. The downside that I've found to this system though is that if you've got your lane keeping system turned on, so the one on the steering wheel here, so if we use the cruise control system, toggle that on. So if you've got your little steering wheel icon there, if it recognizes the lane markings, the system works great. It's going to keep you perfectly balanced in your lane. So even if you lose focus for a second, rubbernecking like an idiot, it'll take you around bends as long as those lane markings are recognized. But what I've found so far is that with this system enabled, if you're wearing sunglasses, for whatever reason, it confuses it almost like you're not looking at the road. So with sunglasses on, I found so far that I'm always getting a little message inside of the cluster saying that I'm either not looking at the road or I'm not gripping the steering wheel, which I'm doing all times. It's just that that message is frustrating. So I personally just keep that system turned off. Then you've got your outside temperature, whether or not your parking brake is engaged or not, your current speed there shown a few different ways, and then you've also got your mode along the very bottom. So as you jump between all of your different driving modes, it shows you along that part of the cluster, and then it gives you a little option there letting you know what's going on. Your current trip counter's down along the very bottom, your fuel gauge is there, and then your dual speedometer set up on top of that. You do have the option of customizing the upper gauge display there, and technically the whole gauge display in general, but if you go to your settings for a second, and then meter screen, that gives you a bunch of options. You've got your meter screen information, so your outside clock and temperature, so you've got your outside temp and then your clock. You can do a gas view with your range there too, so if you prefer to go that route, you've got that option, or you can have nothing showing whatsoever, so you just want no gauges in that upper portion, you've got that flexibility. Then you can also customize a few other things. So if you've got factory nav going, do you want that interruption to happen? Yay, nay. There's a meter display, so either normal, map, or EyeSight. So you could toggle it and change it around this way if you'd like to. That's probably the hardest way to do it. The easiest way is that button there. So just push and hold in order to change between. You can see it moving there inside of the infotainment too. This is the infotainment system that you're going to find inside of the Subaru WRX and a few other Subaru vehicles too. But let's dive in and I'll show you everything that you need to know. You've got some physical buttons along the outside of the screen. So here for your four-way blinkers, your volume rockers there. You can tap in the middle to mute audio as well. You've got your front windshield defroster, rear with your climate control settings for the driver passenger side. Up along the top, you've got your outside temperature, time, and then you can also swipe across to get to a few other pages. You can also move left and right using the arrow keys there. That's a pretty useful setting, I think. You've got a series of icons along the screen here, left versus right. Pushing and holding is going to give you the flexibility of being able to edit out where the icons sit. You can drag them across pages too if you wanted to move different icons to different pages. And then all you're going to do is just tap the home button in order to lock those changes into play. Along the very bottom, you can tap here to get to some different vehicle settings. Home screen, button here in order to get to your devices, or available driver profiles. And then you've got climate control along the very bottom of the screen. So heated, first row seats, adjust your basic fan speed down there as well. And then with your tactile buttons, move up and down, climate on, off, etc., or put yourself into an auto mode. So let's dive line by line and I'll show you everything that you need to know. Firstly is that you do have factory navigation inside of the ride. The factory navigation, I don't know if you caught it there, it's done by TomTom. You can tap there in order to go to a fuller screen, which just hides that upper portion of the tray, but leaves the bottom part. You can search by GPS coordinates, so if you wanted to, latitude first, longitude second, you can enter in the address there, search by point of interest icons, so if you wanted to navigate to something like Tim Hortons, etc., you've got that flexibility. Let's choose one that's a little bit further away. You can tap here to just go. You can tap the little three buttons there in order to add to favorites, search near there or more info, hide that, or tap go in order to then start the route. So you see there, we've got 3 different routes that are available. So you can take any of the available options there. Once you've got the route that you'd like, tap go. And you can see there, we've now got our turn-by-turn directions going. And then once you've got your route going in the infotainment, you'll see your turn-by-turn directions inside of the cluster screen if you've got the one with the fully digital cluster. You can also take the button along the bottom here. If you push and hold it, that's going to give you full map and cluster. Definitely does not look like that in person. It's not going to flicker like that in person. It's just, oh, there we go. Yeah, it's just the difference in the shooting frame right there. But you'd have your full map and cluster available. Pushing and holding that same button gives you a few other unique looks too. And with your route actively going here, you can see your end destination. You can hit options if you wanted to add different things on the route, if you wanted to search for additional things too. So maybe you did want to stop at a gas station too. So you can see what different options are available. Tap one of these. You can hit here in order to add to a favorite, go, or add in a stop. So what we've done is we've added multiple destinations to the route that we're taking. So if you need to go 4, 5, 6 different places because you're taking a road trip, you can set it up that way if you'd like. You can change, you can show instructions. So what are the turn-by-turn directions are that we're going to be taking, or look at some additional settings there. But we'll touch on the settings in just a second here. If we Hop back home into the map. You've got your route that you're taking there. If you exit out along the top now, you can then end, and that's going to end the route that you've taken. If you tap search now, it's going to show you the addresses that you've searched for previously. You can look at history, save it as a favorite there too. Tap here in order to get to all of your additional point of interest icons. And go into that folder screen. You can tap here in order to get to a 3D mode. So essentially just different perspective views. Focus in on you. You can also mute out notifications. So if you just wanted to get alerts when you're coming to an upcoming turn, you can do that. You can mute so you get no alerts whatsoever. And then you can look at your menu in order to get to different things. You can add a home or a work address. The benefit there is that you can hit the voice command prompt on the steering wheel.
Please say a command.
And
Canceling.
And you'd be able to say, go home, go to work, whatever the case may be. You've got your recent favorited addresses, maps, legal, and then some different setting options that are available. So if you wanted to show different things on your map. So you could show things like point of interest icons, etc. If you wanted to show different things there. Do you want to show different things along your route? So parking, gas stations, rest areas. That was where we had that little option along the sidebar. Your arrival time and distance. Do you want to show the remaining distance or the remaining time? Do you want to get an exit preview when you're coming to an upcoming turn on the highway? Automatic zoom in or out when you get closer to your next turn and destination, etc. Do you want to hide that side route bar, yes or no? For the route preference, do you want to get the fastest, the shortest, or the most eco-friendly route? Do you want to avoid different things on your route? Do you want to avoid tollways, carpool lanes, etc.? Do you want to get a traffic warning tone if traffic's getting a little bit heavy? There's your navigation menu as well. And then you had some basic privacy information, but using factory navigation is incredibly easy inside of this ride. You can tap radio here in order to get to your radio. You've got AM, FM, SiriusXM, and you can see along the bottom, it's a mix of all of your available presets. There are some differences between SiriusXM and then AM, FM, which I'll show you in a second. You can just do a generic scan if you wanted to, and then press again in order to stop the scan. You can direct tune this way if you'd like to, so if you know the station that you wanted to tune to, you've got that flexibility. And then if you wanted to save a station in, all you're going to do, you can either overwrite, I think I just accidentally changed to a station there, yeah. And then you can also save in a preset. So all you're going to do is either overwrite or push and hold in order to be able to add a new station in. So it's pretty simple there. You could turn on HD radio data, which means that it's going to broadcast digitally. You might get a crisper connection. You can replay if available and then look at your station list. So if you're new to an area and you're not sure what stations are available, you can see all of your available stations here. You'll see that some of them are repeated. So it's the difference between HD radio or not. And then just tap in. And then if you wanted to overwrite a station, let's say if we wanted to get rid of Alt Nation, push and hold. It's now just going to overwrite that way. So it's simple enough using it. You can tap this in order to adjust out your bass, mid-range, and then treble. You can also get to that menu by pushing and holding the tuning rocker along the outside. So after a second or two, it pulls up this menu again. What I'd recommend is play one of your favorite songs. And while that's playing, adjust these out until it sounds perfect for you. So I've been playing around with this the last couple of days. I've noticed that something like this tends to work well, but that's a matter of preference. And then you can also do a balance and fade. So do you want to focus on the driver, people in the back, etc., or bring it back to middle? And then you can do a fine balance and fade that way if you'd like. And then AM is going to be the exact same thing. All the exact same settings, and SiriusXM gives you a few more options. You can play and pause. That's the benefit of SiriusXM, play, pause the radio there. You've also got your SiriusXM settings, so you can log in, sign up, or listening options, etc. But where SiriusXM really comes into play is this little notification icon. So if you're a big fan of either the artist or the song, you can save in either the artist or the song. So if that artist or song plays on any SiriusXM station, you could then get a notification letting you know that that artist or that song has started playing, and then you can manage all of your previously set up favorites. You can look at your For You, category views, and things like that. So if you wanted to listen to something different. But it's easy enough using SiriusXM here. You could hook up your phone if you wanted to that way, if you wanted to stream audio using SiriusXM over your phone too. But it's easy enough using radio inside of the ride. You can look at media as an available option here too. So iPod, iPhone, USB is available there too. So USB stick with MP3s or with other audio files, and it's audio specifically. And then there's also an available aux jack cable, which you just don't really see that often. Down low, you've got your 3.5mm jack there, and then your two different types of USB, so USB-C, USB Type-A, that are both data transfer ports. You can plug in either way for USB sticks or for your phone if you wanted to go for wired connections. And then you've got your basic settings along the top there. Phones are available inside the ride, so both Android and iPhones can be easily connected. Let's go ahead and start off on the iPhone side of things. So all you're going to do is just tap, yes, we want to add in a new device. And then on your phone, you're waiting for WRX to show up. There we go. And pin numbers match up, so let's go ahead and pair. Do you want all the contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm saying no to that one. If it was yours, you could obviously say yes, and it's connecting right now. And what we're doing is we're connecting to Bluetooth, so you'd be able to make phone calls and stream audio that way if you wanted to. And you can stop here once the phone's connected, so like I said, streaming, etc. But you do also have wireless CarPlay support. So let's go ahead and use CarPlay. It is backwards compatible, so you could plug in over USB if you'd like to. And let's go ahead and select yes. Do you want to set this as your favorite device? So if you have multiple devices connected to the vehicle. And after a second here, look at that. So we've got Apple CarPlay support inside of the ride. It would be nice if we had like a full screen option there, but it does take up pretty solid screen real estate. Now we've got Waze launched in. You can tap along the very bottom here to get to your CarPlay icon view. Tap again to get to your home screen. And then swipe across in order to get back and forward each way, and it's really responsive. Now, the homepage of CarPlay here is technically locked into place. You'll always have whatever map application was last opened, and then your search and audio boxes will always be there. They'll be stretched. But if you have a calendar notification coming up today that hasn't passed yet, that would show up. If there was no calendar notification, the search box would be stretched to there instead. You could, let's mention, tap either way. You've got your current time, and then these are the applications that were last opened. So your last open map, audio application, miscellaneous application, along with your current connection and battery level. And then there's so many different apps that are available for CarPlay. And you can also customize the layout here, but let's say if you can't even connect to CarPlay, it's not letting you. Check down in the description of this video for a little walkthrough on some common CarPlay fixes that you can try. There's a voice command prompt on the steering wheel, so if you just tap that, that's going to launch into the assistant for the vehicle. But if you take that same button and if you push and hold it, that is going to launch into your Siri Assistant. And then you can also customize the layout of the icons, but also the screen. So if you tap settings here, you can go driving focus. You can also change out the wallpaper. So if you have a color scheme that works better for you, you can change that out. Just tap set in order to save any of those other wallpapers in. You can change up the appearance there too. It's pretty simple. And then in order to be able to adjust out the icon layout here on your phone, all you're going to do is go into your settings, general, CarPlay, find your vehicle, and then you can customize. So all you're going to do is just drag and drop whatever icons you'd like to, and then you can also remove things. So all you're going to do is just tap the little delete icon to get rid of them, saves it along the bottom so you can add them back in. But if you've played around with the layout too much and you don't like what you've done, along the top side of the phone, there's a reset option. So you tap reset, reset layout, and that just brings the icons back to the factory default layout there too. You've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze support here, but the only downside, no drag, pinch to zoom capabilities whatsoever. So you have to zoom in and out and then move around this way. I'm personally a pretty big fan of using Waze in every vehicle just because you've got live traffic and then you can also mark things off. People are pretty good at marking things off too. So if there are police hazards, etc., people can give you a heads up and let you know. YouTube is available there, and it's strictly YouTube music, so you're not looking at YouTube video playback support. Would be nice, but not available there as an option. And then one really cool thing, if you've got an active route going, so let's just take something random here, and you can see there that we've got the route actively going right now for Waze. Now, inside of the cluster screen, so you'd have mapping cluster there. If you push and hold this button, what it's doing is it's taking Waze from the device, so the Waze route, and it's showing it right inside of the cluster screen. So you've got enhanced integration that's available there. I mean, I love it. So you can either run TomTom navigation using the infotainment or your phone's navigation inside of that cluster instead. I love that. And then you can tap back here to get back to your home screen, back in, and let's stop the route there. Back home along the very bottom brings you back up to this main screen, launching back into CarPlay. If you tap the little phone button along the very bottom, that's going to pull you up to this screen. You can tap in, and we're currently connected to Apple CarPlay. So if you deselect that, you can then toggle Bluetooth back on. So CarPlay actually technically works over Wi-Fi versus Bluetooth is going to be just for phone calls and for audio. But over CarPlay, you get all of the Bluetooth functionality anyways. So we've reconnected to the iPhone there. But it's that easy setting up Apple devices inside of this ride. Setting up Android devices inside of the WRX is a pretty straightforward process. From this main screen, you could tap phone, but I'm currently connected to the iPhone right now that I had just connected. So you can manage devices here, or tap the button along the very bottom to pull up this screen. You can delete or add in a new device. So let's disconnect from that existing device. And then on the other device here, launching Bluetooth. There we go. WRX popped up. Pin numbers match up, so let's go ahead and pair. And you can technically stop here as well, so you don't have to launch into Android Auto, so we're connected over Bluetooth. On your phone, it's asking, do you want to allow access to messages and contacts? This is not my car, so I'm going to say no to that one. But you can use Android Auto there too. So you're just going to tap yes. And we may get a message on the phone here. There we go. Welcome to Android Auto. You can either manage some things or just tap continue. And in a few seconds, it's going to launch right into Android Auto for us. Boom, look at that. Nice and simple. Tap here in order to be able to minimize. You do have full pinch to zoom capabilities inside of Android Auto, which I love it. You've got Google Maps launched right now, so you could adjust different things out for Google Maps, zoom in and out, etc. You've got your option along the very bottom, and this is going to be for your CBC radio news, etc. with your weather. You can tap this icon along the very bottom in order to pull up your little icon screen. Back again to get here. You can also get a fuller screen Google Maps. So if you tap the Google Maps icon, that's going to go fuller screen. Tap this in order to get that little split screen done. You can pull up the assistant for your phone there, or if you push and hold the voice command prompt along the steering wheel, that's going to pull up your Google Assistant that way. You've got all of your different icons along the very bottom, along with your current connection level and your battery level. And then right here, I've got Waze installed on the device, but if you've got Waze installed on your Android and it's not showing up here, check down in the description of this video for a little walkthrough on some things that you can try in order to be able to enable it. You can also customize the icon layout here. In order to do it, on your phone, you're just going to search for Android Auto. You're going to go into your Android Auto settings, which will pull you up to this screen. All you're going to do is tap Customize Launcher, and then you'd have the flexibility to just push and hold along the outside in order to be able to readjust these icons. Anything with a check mark next to it, you can actually remove it from the screen, but you could add them back in along the very bottom there. Now, in order for these changes to come into effect, tap your little swap icon along the very bottom, hop into your phone. You're going to disconnect from Android Auto. There we go. Reconnect to Android Auto. And when we launch in, back to our icons, the changes that we've made there have come into effect. So it's easy enough being able to customize the icon layout. Tapping back here brings you back up to this screen, so you can tap if you wanted to disconnect from Android Auto. So what we're doing is just reconnecting over Bluetooth again, and then back. So you've got both phones that have been connected. So you can kind of do an either or, but you've got the flexibility of easily reconnecting to either device there if you'd like to. If you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, that's where we get into user profiles, which I'll touch on. So you can have a user profile set up for everybody's phones, etc. Deleting devices, just tap, exit, OK, X, and OK. And you're set to go. So your devices have now been deleted. But it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of the WRX. There's an app screen available there, and when you go into your apps, you've got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay that you can launch into, SiriusXM Travel Link, and then My Subaru, where if you wanted to make an appointment, call for roadside assistance or concierge services, you've got that flexibility. My Subaru gives you the exact same screen there. There's a boatload of vehicle settings that are available. I'm going to touch on that one last because there's a lot of things. You can see some basic car information, so your driving statistics. You can see what's going on with your steering angles and things like that too. So pitch and roll, useful if you're going rally driving, taking this thing off-road, and then all of your maintenance. So either auto or manual. So if you wanted to reset these options, you've got that flexibility. So you can see your maintenance schedule, you can dive in, you can see when you're due for an oil change and things like that. Reset all of these things if you're doing it all yourself. You can toggle the display off. In a second there. Should go off. There we go. And then just push and hold the button for a second there in order to toggle the screen back on again. And you can do the same thing. So if you just push and hold the button here for a few seconds, that's going to give you that same message, and it's going to give you the flexibility of turning the screen off temporarily. Then just button push again in order to turn it on again. Swiping across, you can enter Valet mode. So you enter in a 4-digit passcode and essentially be able to lock the screen out, or you can add in additional shortcuts. So if you wanted to add in map, phone, app settings, etc., you've got that option. So you can do a hot button push to get to your FM screen in order to get to your map, phone, etc. It's actually pretty easy, pretty simple to do that. And what that would do is add a shortcut to this main screen. And then you could easily just drag that icon out onto one of the other pages here too if you'd like. Tap here in order to get to a series of different things. You've got your drive mode selectors there. The drive mode selector, you can actually change your driving mode by tapping the mode button along the steering wheel. So when you tap that, you can see there. So it's changing it inside of the cluster screen, giving us a heads up that it's changing the different mode that we're in. And then it also lets you change between it on the screen here. But when you're in these modes, what does it do? So you've got your comfort mode where power is going to be normal, steering is comfort, and then you've got different options for suspension, etc. But then as we get into something like the Sport or the Sport Plus, that changes up everything. So the big difference is between, let's say, something like your steering. So comfort means you need to throw the steering wheel a bit more to turn. Normal is just for like your day-to-day driving. But in the Sport mode, the Sports steering, it just stiffens things up so nicely. The responsiveness is so much better. And that's the same thing with the suspension too. Do you want to have just normal suspension comfort so it's a bit more relaxed, or do you want it stiff? So you've got that option. And then you can also create an individual mode. So maybe you like sport power, but you want comfort steering, but you also want sport suspension. So you've got the flexibility of really being able to customize this mode out if you'd like to. And then you've also got your steering responsive headlights. So as you go to turn left or right, it's going to follow you as you go, which you can toggle that off. There's a boatload of different things for driving assistance here too. And actually, we may as well dive into this. Pre-collision assist. So if the vehicle is going to potentially get into a collision, it can automatically brake for you in order to minimize the likelihood of a collision or the damage that happens if there is a collision. If you're going rally driving, off-road, things like that, turn that setting off. Forward collision warning. If you're going to get into an accident, how close are you from the leading vehicle before it lets you know? There's emergency lane keeping assist, so that can actually nudge you back into your lane. Lane departure gives you some options. Warning timers are available, but the big one here is going to be the prevention and warnings. Do you get just a little buzzer? So let's say if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it's going to give you a little bit of a buzzer letting you know. And then you can also have it nudge you back into your lane, or do both, or you can toggle that safety system off completely. So if you're not a fan, you don't have to use it. And then your rear vehicle detection. So if you're going to back up and there's somebody coming perpendicular from the vehicle, so left or right, it can let you know. And then there's your driver monitoring system too. I love that you've got the flexibility to turn it off. For my own sanity, I'm going to keep it off as well because it's annoying getting that message just because I've got sunglasses on. There are a boatload of different settings that are available there too. So your meter, normal map versus EyeSight. Let's see your map view. Do you want to be in 3D or 2D, etc.? And that's going to be for the cluster screen. So what options are there? Your units. Do you want to be in kilometers or miles? And that's one of the benefits of it being a fully digital screen. So hold on, if we go back to our just traditional mode there instead, it's just easier to see. All of the changes there. So nice and simple. And then obviously it's kind of interesting because we're a fully digital cluster screen, but then you've got kilometers and miles both listed. So what I think would probably make the most sense because it's fully digital is that maybe one or the other didn't show all the time, but I guess it is kind of nice that they're there. Oh, what do you think? And just exit out of that and back. That was it there. You can swap out your devices, or you've got your driver profiles. The benefit of having these profiles set up, so you choose whatever language you want to, choose your name, And then you can also link your phone and all of your different settings. So if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, set up different profiles. Big benefit there is that you can lock everything into each profile. So any phones that you've connected, presets you've set up, things like that, would all save into your unique driver profile. Back home from there. And then we've got all of the available settings. So start off with general settings along the outside. You've got clock, main one there, so time setting, and this is all grayed out because you're in the auto mode. So if you toggle manual mode on, you can adjust out all of your time settings manually if you'd like to. Time zone. Auto is the way to go for sure, unless you live somewhere where you straddle a time zone and it constantly flips you from one time zone to the other. You'll be able to lock into any of the available time zones there. Daylight savings time, do you want to account for that? Yes or no? Or auto means the vehicle is going to do it for you automatically. Your clock format, do you prefer to be in that 12-hour or the military 24-hour mode there instead? There are options for the display. So again, toggling the display off. There's your brightness dial and then the brightness and contrast. So if you wanted to adjust out your contrast levels, brightness is in auto, which is why that's not available. There are Wi-Fi settings available. So if you wanted to connect to a Wi-Fi network, you've got that flexibility. Wi-Fi security info, reminder screen. So if there's upcoming maintenance, oh, that's kind of cute. Birthday or anniversary. Aww. There are different options for your camera. So your camera delay control, if you've got your rear camera going, so you've been in reverse, you go to drive. If you don't have this one turned on, the rear camera just goes away. But with the delay control on, when you go to shift into drive, it's then going to keep that rear camera on for a few seconds. And then do you want to get your angle guidelines? So as we shift into reverse there, so you can see your guidelines there. And then dynamic, do you want those in play? Yay or nay? Basics for climate control, do you want to have the auto button there? Or do you want to be for AC, max, etc.? So which option do you want showing up along the very bottom? So you can customize that out if you'd like to. Temperature units, do you want to be in either Celsius or Fahrenheit? Us Canadians with our Celsius and the rest of the world. Languages, do you want to be in either English, French, or Spanish? Home screen shortcuts, do you want those there? Do you even want a welcome screen when you start the vehicle up? Goodbye when you turn the car off. You've got different widgets that are available there too. So your oil temp, fuel levels, angles, etc. So you've got the flexibility of being able to change these out. So if you wanted your water temperature, things like that. So if we wanted to overwrite any of these, we wanted maybe the speed limit, weather, compass, etc. For these unique options, you'd have that flexibility. So you can customize those widgets. I believe, yeah, it's just going to be for your favorited screen. So that middle one there. Birthday list is there. So if you want to add in birthdays for different people, you've got that option. That's kind of cool. And then anniversary list there too. So it's like a small detail. Kind of neat. No other manufacturer does that I know of. Cool. Software updates are available here too. Obviously, we'll let you know if there's any updates that are available. You can do a full factory reset. So if you were ever running into problems with the screen, you'd go there to do a full reset. But the downside is that gets rid of everything. There is a way to do a soft screen reboot. I'll show you towards the end of this infotainment walkthrough. You can tap system information to see which current version you're on. Then you've got basic info there. Sound settings, which we should have already seen some of these. You can adjust out audio, so your sound customization, again that equalizer, balance, fade, etc. Which you can also adjust. I mentioned pushing and holding this one to get to that screen. The beep, do you want that? And then at what volume is that beep at? So if that drives you nuts, you can adjust it out there. Or you can completely toggle the beep off if it drives you crazy. If you had a phone connected, you'd be able to adjust out all of your different volumes for ringtone, incoming calls, etc. Your voice volume, so for your voice command prompt, that is actually useful being a little bit lower because that can get pretty loud. SMS, so when text messages are read out, at what level, and back. I like that you can customize so many different volumes. It's so rare to see the flexibility of customizing so many things. Navigation options, do you want to hide the route bar? Oh, a bunch of other things. What things do you want to show on the map? So we've already seen some of these when we were in the navigation settings. There we go, so showing different options on the map, yay, nay. Let's see, freeway exit preview. Actually, I think we've already seen, yeah, all of these options when we went through navigation. Next up, basics for phones, so you can manage all of your devices, and you'll see a few of these things. You can either get to the shortcuts on the main screen or through the settings option. You've got options for your messages, for phone calls. You can change the device name. So if you're not a fan of it being WRX, you wanted it to be Steve's WRX or whatever the case may be, that's where you're going in order to do it. So if you're connecting over Bluetooth, you can change that vehicle name there. And then Android Auto for a Wi-Fi password. Radio, you've got AM, FM, etc. Do you want to show those HD radio options? Yay, nay. Yeah, AM's going to be the same. And then SiriusXM gives us a few additional options. With your car, big one here, so auto vehicle shutdown. After 30 minutes, the car is automatically going to power down, or you can have it stay on all the time. Well, all the time, until you run out of fuel, essentially. EyeSight gives you a few things. So pre-collision braking, if you're potentially going to get into a collision, it can brake for you. Forward collision warning, do you want to get one if you're potentially going to get into an accident? Lane keeping, lane departure, which again, we've seen all of these things. Leading vehicle, if you have come down to a complete stop and the vehicle in front of you starts moving and you haven't started moving yet, it's going to let you know that there's a leading vehicle there and that you should start driving. And then are you driving on the left versus the right side? Your driver monitoring system, I want to keep that one off because it gives you weird messages if you're wearing sunglasses, in my opinion. So you've got your camera there that's watching your eyes as you drive. For whatever reason, the system's not there yet. So I would personally keep that one off. But a big benefit there is that if you're drowsy, you start dozing off, whatever the case may be, you get messages letting you know to pay attention. Let's see, there's keyless entry. Do you want to get an audible signal when you go to lock the doors? Do you want to get flashes? And then when you go to unlock the door, is it just the driver's door that becomes unlocked, or is it all doors? And that's using the key fob. Let's see here. You've got a defogger, interior lights. So when the vehicle's turned off, do the lights just turn off or do they stay on for up to 30 seconds? So do you want those interior lights on? Yay, nay. Welcome lighting as you go to approach the vehicle. Do the lamps stay on for how long? Do they stay off completely? And then leaving time. So when you go to leave the vehicle, do the lights just turn off or do they stay on for up to 90 seconds? One-touch lane change. So with your turn stock, do you get 3 if you just do a light tap down, or with this turned off and you go to tap down, it's just 1. So you'd have to push all the way down in order to get those turn signals actively working. Door unlock, lock, etc. When do you want the doors to automatically lock or unlock? When you start driving, do you not want them to automatically lock? When do you want the doors to automatically unlock? When you open up the driver's door, do you never want them to auto unlock? So good from a basic safety perspective. Rear seat reminder, if the second row doors have been opened up, turn the vehicle off. It'll remind you to check the back seats. Your drive mode selector, which we've already seen, what do you want that to be set up for? Different warning volumes, and then your measurement units, which we've already seen. And I think that's the basics. Those are all of your available settings there. So back home, the other one is going to be a reboot of the screen. So if the infotainment system's ever giving you problems, so let's say Apple CarPlay is not working, Android Auto's not working, whatever the case may be, you do have the flexibility of doing a full factory reset, so full data reset. But the downside is that's going to get rid of everything, all of the settings from the screen, user profiles you set up, etc. What you want to do is a soft screen reboot. In order to actually do that soft screen reset, all you're going to do, take the volume button here, and you're just going to push and hold it for about 20 to 30 seconds or so. So just keep on pushing past this message. The screen will go off in a second. Just going to keep on holding. There we go. We powered off. Keep on hanging on. And what we're doing is entering a soft reboot cycle. So it's the same thing as doing a reboot on your phone. So that should get rid of any sort of issues that you're facing. There we go. And we've done a reboot there. You can do this while you're driving. So if it's running into problems while you're driving, you can do that. So soft screen reboot is going to be the first thing to try. If a soft screen reset doesn't work, you're going to do the full factory data reset. If that doesn't work, the next option would be taking it into your Subaru dealer for them to be able to diagnose. Down low, there are some cup holders, your manual parking brake, and then a little bit of space inside of that box, like wrist deep, with another 12-volt power point down there too. The dash, that's a nice little suede material. It goes nicely with the suede inside of the seat. As much as this is nice, it's the same thing along the driver's side here. I think that this is going to get prone to get dirty a little bit too much. So I would have liked to see either like a leatherette material, like the lower part. So you've got a leatherette here, with suede on top. The mix in theory is neat, but I think that should just be a leatherette wrapped around. Down low, you've got a glove box. It's fully lockable. Good amount of space inside of that box. And then up overhead, there's an auto-dimming rear view mirror with the HomeLink system, so garage door opener you can program in, and you can turn off the auto-dimming functionality. You can see which direction you're facing. You've got your SOS mode, along with your light control here, and then control 4 each side there too. You've got an assist handle, a little ticket receipt holder with a vanity mirror that has a little light built in, and then this little feller, oh, it doesn't even stretch. Oh, that's disappointing. Yeah, so that's one thing I'd like to see change. That should stretch out, because you're not going to have any sun blocked from hitting your face there. That should be changed for sure. And then you've also got a little assist handle there. There is the option for a little sunroof inside of the ride, but when you get into the TS, it's a sunroof delete. So if you want to get a sunroof, go for the GT or one of the lower trims, but that comes down to a matter of preference. I like that. Fully adjustable headrest inside of the seat. But I think they did a good job here. You're not going to run into many visibility issues along the pillars either side. Let's go take a peek at that second row. Looking rear seat. All right, here we go. So, second row of the ride, you've got that same highlight along the door, basic window control with some storage and a speaker. And then, oh, here we go. With the driver's seat set up for myself being 6 feet tall, in the second row, I've got some knee space, got some foot space. Up overhead though is tight. So like I'm not fitting. So me sitting fully upright, it's not happening. Like 5'10", maybe, to be able to sit back here comfortably. But the seats inside of the second row, the outboard seat at least, is comfortable. It's actually not bad. And then, oh, there's a hump in the middle. So shooting over, oh, this is probably even worse. No dice. Not happening for taller friends, family members, etc. But if you've got kids, not really a big deal, because you've got all of your anchor points there with your top tethers up high. A little woofer in the back there. And then there are some cup holders built right into the seat. I actually like the way Subaru's done this. So even though there's nothing you can grab onto, you can lift up the cushion headrest there in order to drop this down. That's a nice little touch. From there, there's a little handle and a hook. Mat pocket behind both the passenger and the driver's side. The option for heated second row seats, and that would just be on the outboard seat. So the middle seat here would never be heated. And then there are a few more USB charge ports, so a Type A and a Type C there too. And then outside of that, same idea, you've got a little handle and a hook there, and a little overhead light control. You're gonna find LED tail lamps inside of the WRX, and walking up to the car at nighttime, it's beautiful. You're gonna find quad tip exhaust inside of the car, and while there's no active valve exhaust system, the sound that you get inside of the ride is excellent. Technology-wise, there's not much back here. You're not gonna find a park sensing system, but you will find a backup camera. And then styling-wise, you're gonna find some nice moldings throughout the bumper, and then a nice deck lid spoiler with a ton of aftermarket upgrades available for the WRX. Getting into the trunk of the ride can be done a few different ways. There's a button to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You can use the key fob to do it. And then just underneath the Subaru badge to the left of the backup camera, there's a button there that you can push in order to pop it open. And there is a solid amount of trunk space inside of this ride. There is a little storage mat that you can lift up, and that's going to show off the jack stand along with the inflator kit. So the goop is there along with the actual air compressor, but there's no spare tire from the factory inside of this ride. If you wanted one, you could pull the entire rear assembly out there if you wanted to, swallow the foam, and then just slide a spare tire in yourself, which is useful if you are going off pavement. Folding down the seats inside of the WRX has to be done from the second row. There are no releases at all from the trunk area. There's a little tab along the top of the seat. You're gonna pull to lower it. And it's a 60-40 bench, so it's 40% on the driver's side, 60% on the passenger side. And then the cargo measurements that you're looking at inside of the ride, the measurements behind the first row that I use go from right where the trunk door would close to just in behind the little armrest between the first row seats. So you might gain or lose a little bit of extra space depending on how far forward or backwards those seats are. But there is a solid amount of space inside of the boot of this ride. Filling up fuel inside of the WRX is done just along the passenger side. And one nice thing, when the car door is locked, the fuel door is also locked. So you just have to unlock in order to get inside. It's a capped system, so if you're worried about fuel theft, you could always do an aftermarket cover with a key. Looking at the fuel quality inside of the WRX, there's the difference between the recommendation and the requirement. The recommendation from Subaru directly and from pretty much every owner that I've talked to is going to be to use a 91 octane. Do you need to use a 91? Not technically. The owner's manual does say that 87 is okay, but here's the thing. It's a 2.4 liter turbocharged engine. This thing is meant for power and performance. If you want the best possible performance you can out of the WRX, do yourself a favor and go for a premium fuel. So 91 octane at a minimum. If you're in a pinch every now and again, throw in an 87, but you don't want to worry about engine knocking and underperforming for the vehicle, do yourself a favor, use that 91 octane. The fuel economy inside of the ride has also been pretty good. I've been getting pretty much on par with what Subaru said to expect on city streets. I've gotten better than they said that you should expect when you're just cruising on highways or interstates. But that does come down to your driving style because this car is a blast to drive. So if you're redlining it more, if the light turns green and you're gunning it, you're going to use more fuel, which I think is a pretty good sacrifice to make for the performance that you get inside of this car. This is the first Subaru that I've driven in years, and honestly, I really enjoy this car. It's not as refined, I would say, as some other cars, but at the same time, that's kind of the point of a WRX. It's to have some fun. And that is exactly what you're going to get out of this car, is a boatload of fun. Yeah, no complaints there at all. Getting up to speed there was great. And then looking at the road noise, it's a noisy car. Like, you're not going to get a car like this expecting it to be incredibly quiet. So that's one thing, go in knowing if you're looking at the WRX, the cabin is a bit noisy. But I mean, outside of the bit of cabin noise, like, you could always drown that out with the audio system. It is a nice drive though. It just feels sportier in comparison to other cars. Damn, that's fun. And that's it. This is a fun car. That's the best way for me to put it. And the best part, because it's all-wheel drive, that also means it's a good car year-round. You can use this car in the snow, no problem. And then if you wanted to do some rally driving, just do some aftermarket upgrades. And that was everything you needed to know about the Subaru WRX. What'd you think? Outside of the small quirks with the infotainment system and that driving assist system, I really like this car, and it's sold at a pretty competitive price point too for the feature sets that you get. But you can find all of the build details for this Subaru down in the description with links off to Subaru Canada and US. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful. And until I see you next time, take care.